Yes. And I was going to mention one other thing before we go to the state level discussing items is we were talking about how he swings with a big stick and he can be really tough. But I will say after what happened to him in Butler, Pennsylvania, it changed him as a person, I think permanently. And I think honestly in a good way because he knows that he was spared for a reason. And people have said this over and over that it humbled him as a person with what happened. And I think it has for sure.
I think so. The Lord raises up different people at different times to serve his kingdom. And so I'm a big believer in that. In Pennsylvania, he just, for whatever reason, turned his head ever so slightly before the bullet impacted. And I think that's amazing. And so I think that was divine guidance there. That's just my personal opinion. But I think the fact that he did get hit was significant. I think the fact that he survived it was significant. It's interesting that both shooters, we've talked about this, that there were more than two attempts on Trump's life. But the two that the public knew about were Pennsylvania and then on the golf course. But this is very strange that both the people that were shooters were featured in BlackRock investment.
I didn't know the one down in the golf course was as well.
Both of them were.
Wow.
And
interesting.
And the young man of Pennsylvania definitely was. The other one was in the background of a commercial. And
I believe the CEO of BlackRock worked with Joe Biden's brother or chief of staff. Yeah. There's a connection, so I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but there is a connection that was there. But
so there were
not blaming, but just it's interesting.
Yeah, so, the point being that a lot of very powerful people had interest in who became president.
They sure did.
And so we want to keep that in mind.
But the people spoke loudly for sure. So
we did.
Are we good to go on to the state level items?
We are. Let's go.
Okay, so we now have a new House Speaker, and his name is Dustin Burrows, and he's out of Lubbock. And one of the neat things about Dustin being in Lubbock is, to my knowledge, I don't know of anyone from the West Texas area that has been Speaker of the House. Do you know?
It's been, you have to go all the way back to the 1980s.
Oh, okay. So not that long ago then. Okay.
I like that attitude.
So it's not that long ago. We wish him all the best. And also, I went to Texas Tech Pharmacy School here in Amarillo, and with Texas Tech being in Lubbock, it's going to be really interesting how he works with our area here in Amarillo with the medical school, the pharmacy school, and the vet school. So, Lubbock is not too far away from us, so it definitely will possibly give us some opportunities here in our area.
I think so. As close as Dustin is, that at some point maybe we need to have a little delegation from here go down and just visit with Dustin and open,
I think that would be really neat.
Open the maybe we could get him to sit down with you or with me, and just to get to know the speaker type deal. And I think the jury is still out because there was a lot of controversy over that.
I was going to talk about that just a little bit.
Okay.
So up here we had a split vote.
We did.
Between 86 and 87, and it's caused a lot of people to question, and it's created confusion a little bit. And so I appreciated Caroline Fairley coming on, and I think she clarified from her end what she thought was best.
Yes.
And I live in John Smithy's district, and I would like to eventually have John Smithy on to also give his point of view as well. But, when we look at it, Dustin Burrows had 49 Democrats to vote for him for House Speaker, and he had 36 Republicans. So without a shadow of a doubt, the Democrats chose the Speaker of the House in Austin. Was the majority. And Cook had 52 Republicans and 3 Democrats. So that's the reality of how the vote went. So do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I can say while that vote was going on, me, your humble county chairman, was on the phone with people in Austin at the time, and monitoring how things were going down, how the vote was taken. So it is tradition for whoever wins the Republican caucus to be the speaker. Okay, so tradition was broken, and that ruffled a lot of feathers. And
it's happened before.
It has happened before, so it's not the first time.
And a lot of people wanted reform where we follow the caucus rules with that candidate.
That's right.
And to respect the caucus rules.
So I'll say this, that in politics, that you make your best move. And I'm a quote good Republican, and so I definitely am a fan of the Republic system and the Republican structure. So I'm a big fan of that. But there is a point in time where you have to realize, because it's called voting or vote count, and you realize when you count the votes, we don't have enough votes to push our guy across the line. Then it's just like you double clutch, shift gears, and you have to then make your best deal. And that's the group that I am a part of in Austin. That's what they did. They shifted gears and wanted to make the best deal they could, knowing that they did not have enough votes. And so,
but initially, you did send out a resolution as county chair supporting the Republican caucus nominee.
I did.
Just to state that in December.
I was one of the first ones to support David Cook.
Yes.
And I signed on to his letter early on. And because I'm traditionalist.
And how many county chairs did that? I mean, there were a lot, right?
Well, there's not every county has a chair. A lot of the rural counties don't have chairs. So I would say that it really came down out of the 88 representatives that the majority of county chairs that are in office did support David Cook. And I definitely supported the tradition in the Republican caucus. But I want to be open and upfront that when you realize you don't have the votes, from a political standpoint, you got to shift gears and you got to do what you got to do.
I think one of the things, I'll be biased saying this, I really wanted John Smithy to be House Speaker from my district.
I promoted that.
And initially before the main caucus, they did like a pre-caucus where they met to see who would maybe go forward. And John did win the first 2 rounds of that.
Yes.
And Cook did not bow out. So if that might have happened, we might have a different scenario, possibly. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. What?
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so when John comes on to do an interview with you, we'll ask him that.
Yes.
But no, John was in the running for.
I think
Speaker
he would have
of the
been
House.
great.
And he did a very statesman-like thing.
And that's the way John is. He bowed out like a gentleman, but.
Yeah, we were rooting for John. And but that's how things play out. So I think, in my understanding, and I'm just a lowly county chair in the Panhandle of Texas, but believe it or not, we do have influence here. But I think we came away with the fact on Dustin Burrows that there will be no Democratic chairs. So that deal was made. And when I say
because and you're talking about, just so viewers know, the House rules were made.
Yes, the House rules. Also, Democrats can be appointed to vice chairman.
I think they only can be Democrats. I don't think there can be any Republican vice chairs, if I remember reading it. And that's one of the other things I was going to mention, too, is that they were amending. And they never got to give any of those amendments, and they had to vote on those. So that's another aspect. There was no open debate about the House rules. It was sent out, I think, at 4 a.m, and they ended up voting at 2 p.m.
Naturally.
It was motioned, and a lot of the Republicans or reformers did have some amendments that they wanted to make, And one of those was on the vice chairs that Republicans, I believe, could be a vice chair, and that never got across the finish line. So it was shut down, and they just had to vote.
So we're going to check on that. That's something to check on because my latest information that I received said that a Democrat or Republican could be
if they can, chair. Then that's good.
It's open.
It's open either way.
But as we understand from our interview with Representative Fairley, is that the chairman of a committee has absolute power over that committee.
And the vice chairs, because it's come across maybe that the vice chair has more power, but then I've also heard they do not have more power.
According to Ms. Fairley, that's incorrect.
Okay.
It's not going to be that way.
Right. It's more of a title.
But I think to be fair to everybody, and Representative Fairley said this too, is that, the detail, or devil's always in the detail. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see in the first few weeks how all this goes down. So they're going to receive their committee assignments next week,
committees have not been assigned. The committee chairs have not been assigned yet.
There you go. So we'll see all that next week. So out there, the listening audience, let's be patient and let's see how all this pans out. A lot of people are watching, including me. Yes. I'm sure Sarah.
Yeah. Yes.
We're all watching to see how this pans out. Mm-hmm. And when we see what we see on the next podcast, we'll bring you up to date.
Yes.
And on how it all works out. But I think that is the committee assignments come out next week. Mm-hmm. I think the shifting of gears is that the deal's done. And so we have to shift gears. We have to
and Dustin Burrows is who we are working with, and we obviously honor that, and we wish him the best of luck. And also, I think for our area, with him, like I said, being so close up here, there are some neat opportunities for our area here in Amarillo with him being so close to us.
Right. So information does travel, and so the just for people's own personal knowledge. The county chairman, which I serve, the county chairman is a representative of the Republican Party of Texas, which is based in Austin. And so I'm the local representative of the Republican Party in Texas. We have a county committee, which Sarah serves on the committee, and she's a precinct chairman. And so that's how our county committee is structured. And all of the input and information comes in through the local people in the precinct, makes its way through the county executive committee and onto the chair. And anybody, a precinct chair, can access our representatives on the Republican Party in Austin. You don't have to go through the chair. Anybody can access that. If someone has an interest in doing that, I'd be glad to give you the number.
Absolutely.
So it's not like it all has to funnel through the chairman.
Sure.
But anyway, so I think that there's a lot of changes in Austin. I think there is, in my opinion, there is realignment going on, political realignment. And this is my own personal observation.
These alignments are always going on, it seems like.
And you are exactly right. They're always going on.
It ebbs and flows constantly.
Yeah. And that's something else, that I've learned being chairman is that politics goes on 24/7, 365. It doesn't even take a day off for Christmas or New Year's.
It's like a sport.
Yes, it's a blood sport. And so
it's like playing chess.
We do the very best we can. But anyway, that's what's going on in Austin. We will monitor it, and we will bring more information to you.
And one other item I want to bring up that is probably one of the most hot ticket items up here and in the state of Texas is Senate Bill 2 with the vouchers.
Okay.
And that's going to be
school vouchers.
So Dan Patrick, they did pass that in the Senate, and it's headed for the House. And so that's something for people to follow. With school choice is what it's called. So one thing I will just say personally for myself, I grew up, I'm a product of, I went to CISD for high school, but also homeschooled when I was younger. So I did both. Mm-hmm. And growing up in the 90s, I had choice with what I was able to homeschool. So it wasn't that I couldn't do that or not, or my parents had to get approval from the state of Texas. What it is who is funding where you send your child. We already have choice. So it's, I believe it's $10,000 for private education.
Where the funding goes.
Yes. It's where the state is going to pay, parents or the school, the private schools, $10,000. And so there's a huge debate going on in the public school system that it pulls from them.
Yes.
Possibly. And we have a lot of our area's rural compared to Dallas, Austin, Houston. And so a lot of parents, teachers are concerned with their teacher retirement with this going on. So it's going to be interesting to watch to see how this plays out. This has been a big item for Dan Patrick Abbott.
It's a big item in the race for the 86th district.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, 86 and 87. Everything has really, that was a lot of people got primaried out, whether they were for or against school vouchers. So that's going to be something for us to follow and that parents and everybody needs to be up to date on.
I'll say this. I'm a capitalist, so I believe in the free market and letting the free market flow to find your equilibrium of efficiency. So no matter whether it's school, business, or what it may be. So the more choices that parents have in their kids' education, the more utility or more value that education is going to have. And so a lot of people are worried, well, if we do that, it's really going to hurt the public schools. Yes, I think there will be an impact on a small percentage. And yes, it does affect rural school districts different than it does, say, larger school districts like.
Because you might not have a private
Amarillo.
School in
That is
Borger
correct.
and Panhandle.
That is correct.
Claude. I mean, just smaller schools.
Yeah.
Smaller
and
places.
So when people ask me, well, Kelly, are you are you for school choice? Well, my gut reaction is, yeah, I'm always for more choices, but I always say, but there's a caveat that we have to look at the rural school situation differently and maybe make amends
to where it doesn't hurt our rural
to where it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
But more choice in your education or in your business is, in my mind, generally going to be a better thing. But we do have to do it very carefully. And
this is not a cheap package. It is $1 billion, and I believe it's for 60,000 students. So it's not even going to go towards to qualify. There's certain qualifications, but it's something that they're willing to expand in time. So it's also looking at taxes going up. With this could be. I've seen $3.5 to $5 billion in time.
Because it's going to cost more money each year.
Yeah, and expanding government is not really conservative either. So that's something to look at. Is if, even though it's school choice, is expanding government's more of a Democrat ticket item rather than Republican. So it's just researching and knowing. I have not personally read Senate Bill 2 fully through, but I've seen a lot on it. And so I feel like, the way the House Speaker race was, it was very heated. I think the vouchers is going to be equally as heated of an issue as well.
We'll see how that comes out. And
yes.
just know that actually this is why we send our representatives to Congress. They're supposed to go down there, and I think last night at the meeting last night here at the church, why only 2 to 3% of all the bills presented actually get voted on, because everybody puts a bill out. I mean, every representative down there is going to put forth a bill. But over the process, they get weeded out or amended or adjoined, in other words, merged with other amendments. So when they actually maybe come to the floor for a vote, we're only talking of 2 to 3% of all the bills that were began by representatives actually make it. So to me, that gave me some solace that the representatives out down there in Austin actually do weed through all of these things and try to get to the best solution possible. And so as I've studied politics in Austin, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on down there.
But it does locally, state, and nationally all the way through. Yeah.
Yes. And so, but by the same token, it does have a process.
Yes.
And so we do have a process for getting to good solutions. And that is the Republic way. And it's messy. because you're involving a lot of different people and a lot of different interests. So politics is messy.
One thing I was going to add, Dustin implemented the Department of Government Efficiency just like Trump did. So I think that's going to be really interesting.
Oh,
And I actually really like
that.
I like that a lot.
I love it.
How much federal spending they're looking at cutting, I mean, it's insane. But we've got to do it because of the amount of debt.
So what Sarah just said is that Department of Governmental Efficiency, we took the format or the what want to call it the design from the federal government, and we've implemented here in the state
Speaker
of Texas.
Burrows, yes, was a big fan of that,
Yes.
which I thought was really good. So so I think there's a lot of great things to come. Is there anything locally that you want to add? We kind of started with that, and maybe end with anything local that you want to update us on, or
I think that the mayor's race is something to watch. We want to be careful of that. I don't want to say careful, but we want to be mindful of the mayor's race, of the city council race, the school board races, and as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, the politicians that most affect your life on a day-to-day basis are, number one, your county commissioners, number two, your school board members, and number three, your city commissioners. They affect your day-to-day life more than any other office holder. So please pay attention to these races. Come to our debates, watch our podcasts, and then get to the polls. I don't care whether you've got kids in school or not. Still go vote for school board because you're going to pay taxes.
a lot of grandkids too. I mean, there's just a
grandkids,
friends with their kids. It's just it's a lot.
So if you've noticed, I noticed, although the tax rate for school district taxes went down, the tax rate actually declined, but the total amount of taxes I paid on my house went up because of the increase in valuation from inflation. So I had to come up with more money to pay the taxes. So when I look at Randall County, and I brag on Randall County all the time, and I'm sure that's a little bit of self-serving, I'll admit.
It's a little biased.
A little biased. But,
it's okay.
Randall County, we have one of the highest household incomes on average in the state for a city our size or a county our size. One of the, not the highest, but we're right up there in the top 10%. Highest household incomes. We have one of the lowest crime rates. We have one of the lowest county tax rates. And everybody's saying county. Now, you got to separate out. County does not mean school district. School district are on top of the county taxes.
Meaning your what you pay for
CISD. We have one of the higher school district tax rates. And so it does affect you, even if you don't have kids. It does affect you.
If you own a home, yes.
So please make effort to examine the school board races and the city races and AC College. They're part of it too. And do your part, just like you did in the general election. We had a 67% turnout in Randall County in the general election. We carried, and I'll brag on the electorate, that's you guys, the voters, I'll brag on you that we, as a county, delivered up 42,000 net votes to Trump and Cruz in the state of Texas. Now, it wound up not being that close of a race for Ted Cruz.
I thought it was going to be closer with the money that was involved, but we
thought it was going to be close. And so imagine that. If it had been close and we delivered up 42,000 net votes for Cruz, what a big deal that is. And I'll just tell you that I got an email from Ted Cruz's chief of staff after the election, and I'm going to share this with you, the electorate audience. And he personally thanked me and the county voters for getting out to vote for Ted and getting that number up. We had a record number of people vote. We had 67% turnout, and and so this is my favorite part. So when you break down and do the statistical analysis on counties with 50,000 people or more, so that includes quite a few counties in Texas, but 50,000 or more, we were tied with Midland in carrying the Republican Party for Trump and Cruz. When you bump it up to 100,000, now you're into pretty good sized cities and counties. 100,000. Who do you think's the number one Republican county in the state of Texas?
Randall
County.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
thank you, voters, very much. You've done your part, and I'm asking that you do your part again on the school board and city council races.
And just to end, I think it's important that we don't get comfortable with Trump back in office where we just relax, because there's so much to get done. So we need to stay active, stay vigilant, and also, these local races are so important, and it's something to watch and I'll care about just as much, honestly, as Donald Trump getting back in office. If we had that type of enthusiasm watching these local elections, I think it'd be great. So I think it's just important that we don't just be like, well, we won that one, now we can relax for 4 years.
And just know, yes, and know that our 13th district representative, Ronnie Jackson, is a big part of the Trump, strategy. I know that Ronnie's very, very involved with President Trump and his crew, and he's in the mix, and he's very close to the president.
He is. Every time I'm at Mar-a-Lago and Trump is speaking, he always mentions Ronnie Jackson. Yeah. There's never a time that he doesn't. And I just think it's neat that, he represents our area, and Trump and him are that close. So,
yes. So I was privileged to have dinner with Ronnie's wife
Jane.
The other night. Yes, Jane. And I want to ask everybody, please pray for the Jackson family, the Trump family, everybody, because if you can imagine, they are in the midst of changing the world. Mm-hmm. They are changing the world politically. And so let's pray for protection over them and their families, for them to have a good night's sleep so they can be energetic and on the ball. But these people are all over the world, working with world leaders. And obviously we didn't talk about it, but the Gaza Strip.
Yes. So Benjamin Netanyahu did meet with Speaker Johnson today about, he's asking, Trump to come in and effectively the United States to take over the Gaza Strip, which is a huge undertaking and a big deal. So how that process is going to work or what it's going to look like. I didn't see the press conference. I was getting ready to come here, but I'll look at that, and we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. We'll take some heat here probably, but the Palestinian people. When you start a war with someone who is mightier and wealthier than you are, you probably know you're not going to win that war. But they did do it, and unfortunately now the consequences of that fighting that war and starting that war are going to come to roost. And what that, like you said, what that looks like, we don't know. But it is a fact of life. My ancestry is Irish, so I could tell you about all the different 16 different kingdoms or empires that conquered the Irish over the centuries. We could look at Native Americans. What I guess I'm asking people to understand is things do change, and who wins wars does matter, and that's why we have the best military in the world, folks.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if we're finished up, we'll sign off for today and come back next time with more information like we always do.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for being in the studio with me today. I always enjoy it very much.
I do too.
And thank you, audience, for taking the time to watch us. We'll be back.